the idea is that, Claris V2 is going to live on an optimistic rollup, and optimistic rollups have a 7-day delay. And so, right. Yeah. But for those who don't know, Viveya is the solution that Claris built to pass messages quickly from dApps that live on optimistic rollups and dApps that don't live on the optimistic rollup. So this is how Claris V2 can support arbitrable dApps on Mrs. Chain, on mainnet, and any other chain that settles to Ethereum mainnet. And there's a little bit of work on once this Veya bridge infrastructure is live, then you can build any tools on top. So it could be possible to build ways to bridge tokens and other kinds of cross-chain applications can be built on top. So there's a little bit of work on that front. And maybe I'll end my rambling with just one comment on William's mentioning of this of taking some special care for use cases where an arbitrable dApp wants a non-binary outcome on a scale of 1 to 10. This does remind me of this paper that William and Clement co-authored on using a Schelling-Point style game for real number Oracle. So it could be like, this is one possible application, but what is or what's the rate of inflation of the US dollar in January of 2023? And the answer there is, it's a real number. Maybe William can explain it better than I, but the idea is that, some people would make a prediction or estimate that, okay, the inflation was greater than 5%, less than 10%. And so someone might make a prediction, okay, the inflation was greater than 6%, but less than 10%. The predictions that are closest to the coherent Schelling point of everyone's guesses, the closer or the narrower predicted ranges are, the higher their reward. So like if someone makes a prediction or guesstimate that inflation is between negative infinity and positive infinity, or the minimum representable integer on the EVM and the maximum possible representable integer on the EVM, then that person would be rewarded the least, and the person who has the most narrow range would get a larger reward. So I guess I'm kind of curious if there's some application of the incentive mechanism described in that paper, and maybe this discrete case where I guess it's an integer oracle or something, or distinct set oracle.
Yeah, so you described the system well. So the real advantage of that system that I co-authored, this paper that I co-authored with Clement, is that it allows the system itself to determine how much precision it needs.
Can be some naked
so in
bodies.
these real value oracles, you always have this question of how many decimal points should we ask for? Say you need a price oracle for ETH, or you want this inflation rate example. The system itself probably doesn't know how precise it needs to be. If I'm building a naive oracle, maybe I build an oracle and I'm like, okay, please give me the price of ETH to $1, and then ETH 10x's or something, and then maybe it's the dollar estimate is no longer relevant. So maybe I'm okay, maybe I want a percentage estimate. But some people, different applications that draw information from an oracle will want more or less precise information. And our paper is interesting in that it basically allows the system to determine its own level of precision by what the users submit to it. You can, if you want a really precise answer, you can submit a very small interval. And if jurors do there are a bunch of close cases that result from these.
I don't feel this guy is talking. I don't know why.
collaborations with
Never.
major artists, brands, collaborators, designers. So we've kind of, for those who know Nick's work, he's kind of always pushing the boundaries of what technology can do. Always kind of, I think he did his first 3D scan of a fashion model back in 1998, 99, I think, motion capture and stuff like that. So it's always kind of, when we started to see all this super exciting Web3 and NFT and blockchain stuff happen, we were like, oh, okay, right, what can we do with this? So it's kind of, Icon One is our sort of inaugural project that we launched back in December. Is a very much a labor of love, the project. It took us over a year and a half to kind of create it. Features the amazing model Giselle Zanotti, who's just incredible and just sort of so ideally suited to this way of doing stuff and having kind of all these different traits and all these different looks. Like if you go on Giselle's Instagram, you can see that they're just kind of, behave like this anyway, and we've just kind of brought them into this digital space. So we're really, really pleased with the project. We learned a lot doing it. We're still learning. We've got a lot coming up.
Show Studio.
We did, separate to Icon One, we did a small kind of off-chain collaboration with DressX and Moogler at the end of last year, start of this year. We've got an on-chain one coming up exclusive for Icon One holders. We've got a bunch of stuff in the pipeline with virtual shoots and extra drops
Tumblr
and wearables and all this kind of exciting stuff. So we're really excited to see where it's going. We're sort
Let's
of,
not go there.
Show Studio is perfectly placed to kind of experiment with this stuff and also give other people platform to experiment with this stuff as well. So anyone out there who's up for collaborations, just hit us up and we're always up for it. So yeah.
Amazing. I love that so much. I think that's one thing that I really enjoy about the kind of digital fashion and Web3 space is that collaboration is so big in this space.
And I think that's it. Maybe the only last thing I could comment, I'm going to be participating in early April in Harvard. There's going to be at the Kennedy School of Government conference on DAOs and governance, so the future of governance at Harvard. And, Kleros was invited to the conference, and I will be very much happy to represent Kleros there. So that's super cool. And everyone from the decentralized governance ecosystem is going to be there. So yeah, excited about that. And I guess that's it for today. No, maybe Jean, you have something you want to comment?
We have a talent player, one of the projects of Incubator. They are running a hackathon, which means like a hackathon where people try to break their protocol because it looks like they are getting close to launch. They are in Lisbon, but they are also holding it like virtually. If you are interested, I'll share the link. And
this Twitter.it is going to
break it. The serial breaker. Yeah. Probably he can help test the policy. And and also Emmet created a group for projects that have been incubated or are participating in the incubator now. And if the projects also that are building with Kleros and maybe might be looking for funding, and he'll be sharing like relevant content for projects that want to scale, basically. So yeah, I just shared the link for that as well.
Okay, well, I guess you can claim your hard-earned co-ops now.
Yes, you can DM me. I have the links for the co-ops.
Awesome. Well, guys, see you on Telegram. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.
So, during 2022, we had been trying different kind of digital fashion use cases, like AR, NFTs, wearables for metaverse,
We did a couple of online events in Decentraland, and actually it
So
was
many
all very
Metaslavs.
exciting to experiment
Hurts my
around
eyes
of
and
all
ears
these
to hear you all.
different digital fashion use cases. And actually our last project is
How many
wearables
boobs are
for
we ready to
Clonex.
see?
So yeah, besides all of this, I am happy holder of my Clonex, which I feel very related to, and I really love like how it looks like, and it feels like so connected to me. So it's one of my favorite projects and one of my favorite communities. And of course, I had an idea to create something on top of Clonex avatars long time ago. Yeah, as actually Natalia minted, we are in the community from the first day of minting of Clonexes, but I knew about the project much earlier. So yeah, it was also my inspiration even to start my own company. So I always had this idea to dress up Clonex avatars in Diverge, and that's what we did a couple of weeks ago. And I really love like what. How our how our wearables looks like, and I think they're very unique. And yeah, if you're actually a Clonex holder, you can mint it for free, and the mint is still open on our website. So yeah, you can try on it and start experimenting with content creation, and because we provide in all source files. So you can dress up your clone easily, and yeah, and show up in social media in a new outfits.
I don't have social media to show up in outfits, and like, let's be honest, which social media are you talking about?
Free mint and dressing up in their Clonex. So yeah, I think that's something that the Clonex always appreciates from digital fashion brands, is bringing the 3D files as access to us, because we're one of the only communities that has PFPs with 3D files, and we're like, wow, what can we do with it? We want to make content, we want to make videos and music videos and all this crazy social content with our clones, and just get creative with it. So when digital fashion brands are giving us like the utility of being able to dress up our clones, it's just it gives me so much use case in why NFTs kind of work within this space. So yeah, really appreciate you coming in and doing that for.
I thought we were over the
community.
story. Why are we still on
Thank you so much. Can't wait to see you wearing Diverge.
I'm so excited, you guys. I literally just wanted to reiterate, if you don't understand how amazing this lineup is, we truly have Dematerialized, DressX, The Fabricant, Artisan, Aurora Bros, Show Studio, and Divergent all on one stage. So thank y'all so much again for being here. Just wanted to emphasize that because, wow, this is amazing. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, so maybe we can kind of get started on thinking about some questions to kind of pose to you guys. I'd like to kind of cover a few topics in the space that's kind of very relevant now. One of the things that's kind of been playing on my mind that I'd love to kind of bring up is the Meta Birkin situation. And I was wondering if any of you kind of had any thoughts about that. It's a very interesting thing that's kind of happened, and I think it's kind of set a precedent for like how NFT users kind of play with IP in this space. So I would love to hear your kind of thoughts on it, whether you're for, against. Yeah, let me know.
Yeah,
I start?
definitely.
Oh,
I have thoughts.
go ahead, Mark.
No, because really this is the first time when there was a big clash between the creative community and the brand itself, and it is actually kind of breaking my heart how the situation was resolved. Yes, it was predictable that it's going to happen this way. However, I think it would be so beautiful when if they would just I don't know, propose a creative director role to the artist, or make this an official collab and actually embrace this whole community who was kind of getting into this space and into this digital Beta Birkins.
3D.
But it turned the other way, which actually shows that not all the brands are ready to kind of embrace the new rails and this new emphasis that is happening. And it just proves that it will take either a little bit more time for things to kind of get into the right rails, or that it's kind of different categories will be emerging, but also it opens up the opportunity for new brands to emerge and kind of replace the notion of very kind of strong ownership and not collaborative approach and keeping everything like in-house, rather than opening up the opportunity for larger community to engage, to communicate, and to be a part of it. And also, I think it just shows that not all of the brands are ready to embrace this new open kind of relationships between the community. We can say consumers, we can say customers, but in the end of the day, like fans of the brand, supporters of the brand. And I think we have a great chance and opportunity in front of us to build things differently. And this is the first kind of first entry points, but I see a lot of hands following, so I'll give a stage to everyone else to contribute, because really it's a huge case and a huge precedent.
Yeah, just wanted to jump in here. I feel very strongly about this, to be honest. So I really believe in originality. We're now at the precipice of a completely new realm of creativity. There's absolutely no reason to copy either physical assets or even, pre-existing assets from other brands. I think being original at this point in time is so special. We're at such a point of innovation where really you can create absolutely anything. I think it's a shame to be, just copying and adding different materials to something that took a lot of time to build. It takes a lot of craftsmanship. It's a very specific skill that is required to create, one of the physical pieces at the end of the day. So why not dedicate that same love and attention to detail and that craftsmanship and that, finding of something that's truly unique that people really find desirable, and craft it in a digital way. And again, that's really the ethos of our brand, where we believe in originality and making magic happen and making something spectacular and new for a new generation who also values and desires a new aesthetic.
Agreed. And I'm going to piggyback off this. We always say that your imagination is the limitation within the metaverse, within the digital space, because that will be your differentiating factor. And it's also kind of a level playing field now, whether you're a massive fashion house with a legacy of tens of years, or you're a new upcoming brand, right? So now you can compete on a level of your originality. How creative is your work? How well crafted it is and suited for the community, and whether that benefits in terms of IP, how we split, also the legal aspect of the trademark and the brand. I think we can all learn from it from different relevant. no copying. That's definitely for sure. Respect the artist, respect the craftsman in the space, and continue a new legacy and a new story.
I absolutely agree with that, and I think it's really interesting because I do see both sides of the coin. In terms of, yes, they're a legacy brand that's taken them so long to perspective. I would have thought that Hermes would have been one of the last brands to kind of think about adopting this technology. See, yes, an opportunity for like younger brands now, digital native brands, which is what I think everyone here on stage is, to adopt that co-curation and getting in newer kind of designers, and almost doing like
almost $200 million worth of sales at the time on primary and 1.3 billion in royalties or secondary sales. So Nike could actually justify an acquisition. And I think actually it was Daria, I believe, from DressX who actually made this point as well. But I think it's interesting with that because, one of the avenues that Hermes could have done is actually to acquire, Meta Birkins. But I think the problem with that is that it doesn't originate from them. And
they wouldn't want it. Why would they want it?
I've been in a lot of these, meetings with luxury brands.
Good book.
Just from my Web2 life and a lot of conversations with them, but IP and ownership is something that they hold very near and dear. And, about IP and actually getting ownership to that. Whereas I think for a lot of the heritage and legacy brands, it's not something that they're used to because, Fawn, you mentioned as well, there's a certain level of status, there's a price point, and there is a luxury mentality that's there that is really hard to break. When you're in boardrooms and meetings with a BOD or senior leadership, they don't even get what you're talking about. Even talking about e-commerce and omni-channel, let alone talking about giving your IP away and creator and community and be able to share royalties with your community, they would think that you're smoking something, Okay, I'll leave it at that point because we're recorded here. But it's just absolutely insane to them and they can't wrap their head around it versus, getting back to the Nike and Artifact situation of making a financial case and proving to them, hey, there's already, validation financially, primary and secondary. This is where the market is going in building out a use case. But I think there will be a mass conversion. I mean, we've already seen, Pharrell is a really big one who I'm a huge fan of. Now is going to be, at Vuitton as a creative director. And we know his involvement, as I mentioned earlier, with the doodles. And that's huge. The fact that you have someone who's so heavy in Web3 now being a lead in one of the houses, and Arnaud, who's part of Bernard Arnault, who's the head of LVMH of that family, he's part of, the whole drive when it comes to, CryptoPunks and Tiffany's, Pharrell's hire and all these things. So there's a new wave and there's a new guard coming. And I think that will show a lot of the shifts. And just to kind of tie back, because I am also representing the Fabricant as well as myself here, but part of what we do is really about co-creation and creating a platform.
Yeah, you kicked me out of your room once, so I don't understand how you're managing to even say publicly co-creation while canceling people on stage.
Year for World of Women, where we did a collaboration.
Look, I'm the one who's telling who's to
where
stay.
We worked with different artists and designers
whose voice is to be heard,
so that they could create fabrics and colorways.
What
and,
narratives are to be shared. What the kind of world that we're actually creating here. I'm the one who's gonna be processing for us and saying what's actually in and what's not in anymore or never been.
IP for your design is a freaking nightmare. That's why we see all the luxury brands. Fashion Week is happening right now when, designs go up on, the internet for all the designs. You have all the mass fashion brands copying it down to a T. And honestly, there's really a lot of times nothing that they can really do about it. But if you're a small designer, you're building on the blockchain, you have verification, and also you can see all the transactions that go through. So I didn't really state whether I'm for or against, but I will say that Hermes case, what it does prove, that Web 2 and Web 3 matters. There's no division. It's an and situation where you need to be physical and you need to be digital, and legal transcends those boundaries. For creators and designers, maybe this can be looked at as a pro and a con, but frankly speaking, right now, we need more people in this space and we need mass adoption. So for me, I think
not
that
ready
it's
for
a
the
win
mass
in that
adoption.
sense.
I agree. I think it can be seen in some light as a kind of positive, because this whole kind of legal case almost just kind of adds credence and legitimacy to some degree to what digital products are. And I think it's really telling that, one, as you were saying, that it came out that Hermes, I think back in 2021, it turns out that they were filing patents for NFTs. And then, kind of cut to 2 years later, year and a half later, then they're kind of taking somebody to court for ripping off their designs. I think we'd be kind of slightly naive to think that they wouldn't be paying attention of what all this stuff is going on, and that they wouldn't try their absolute damnedest to kind of keep hold of their IP, because, that's what these luxury brands are. That's how they make their money. Yes, these handbags are incredible objects. Yes, they're handmade, but, are they worth £50,000? Inherently, no, they're not. So the only way that can exist is if, they have their IP and they have this kind of scarcity. That whole scarcity thing just ties in very, very nicely with what the blockchain is and how NFTs work. So I think these big luxury brands are taking this stuff really, really seriously. And I think this court case shows that. And in a way, yes, it is a shame that they weren't kind of open to this kind of new creator economy and this new way of kind of engaging their audiences. But I think in another way, as I say, it just kind of adds legitimacy to, yes, digital products are real products and they can go through the same processes and go through the same legal challenges. And I think on the whole, that's kind of better for the ecosystem that we're discussing here, I think.
Dee, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, hi. I wanted to say that I totally agree that there is kind of two sides of the coin. From the one hand, I think it's a sign that the big corporations are not ready to collaborate with creators. with young and talented creators, and I think that's kind of limit them in expressing their creativity, and I think this is kind of like can limit all the industry. But from the other point of view, I had a situation which happened with my physical brand, and we created a very statement dress, which with a very like strong design, and Zara, they copied this design like totally like the same. They did like totally the same design, and of course it was kind of frustrating that they did that, because after that a lot of kind of Chinese brands start to create these copycats of our brand, and it was like so frustrating because it was so unique design, and yeah, we just couldn't do anything because we are like not so big brand, we just small brand, and also yeah, the quality of the dress they did was of course much more lower because we did like high-end fashion brand, and the quality of the pieces we did were like super high-end, and they just like ruined all the idea and created this dress which looked like the same but very bad quality. So yeah, just wanted to share this story. But actually, in Hermes case, I think it's kind of another situation because I think they upgraded their design, and it looked so fun and so creative, and so I think it looked like cool, and like in my opinion, they kind of had to find a way how to collaborate and how to get out of this in like a win-win situation.
But actually, can I add quickly? It's also teaching to maybe consider the interest and how brands would behave, because
I feel like I'm back in 2021 on Clubhouse Spaces, listening to people who
how
have
to
nothing to
educate
really
each other
share.
and how to expand this notion of collaboration, considering something that existed for many years, like tens of years, hundreds of years, like translating the heritage into the new kind of new realms. And it's always two ways road. And yeah, I think it's a great case which will stay, and a lot of conclusions are to be made.
Jumpstart, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I did. I also want to just give space in case anyone else on the stage also wanted to share, but I'll try to keep this point a little bit shorter. I can talk about Web3 fashion, digital fashion, probably without breathing for a very long time. That's why I'm so hyped about Web3 and fashion and everything that's going to happen. But Show Studio, you touched on something that I wanted to also reiterate, which you mentioned legitimacy. I think when people hear the word Web3 or NFTs, the general public and the old guard when it comes to working in luxury fashion, they have an allergy. It's like you literally gave them kryptonite and they don't know what in the world to do with that. And they're kind of hot potatoing this. They don't even want to deal with this. Like the degenerates, they don't even know what degens mean. It's just like, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. I mean, if you think about back in the days where, Starbucks was one of the first to, and I know it's not fashion, but they have been making moves, obviously, Nike as well. But, they were the first when it came, or one of the first when it came to mobile payments. And, I'm a nerd like that. So I read through business calls and reviews, and I sit through that, even though I'm like very deep into fashion, because I'm curious about how the business world works in finance. And, over almost 80% of their sales in North America are all mobile. So when you think about that, there was a time and place where we were thinking, smartphones, what's a smartphone? I have a brick called a, Nokia or a Sidekick or a BlackBerry if you're in the, elder millennial or boomer generation. I barely made the cut for elder millennial. Thank you, Jesus. But I think this proves like there's going to be a time and place where everyone's going to be using.
Have allergies on this person.
Ask me, what the hell are you doing with your life right now? And I'm saying, hey, just follow along, watch these brands, track, projects like CloneX and what they're doing, what the community is creating, because that's basically UGC content, and y'all can also monetize on that. And that is just some next generation type of things that they're not familiar with yet. But when you show them the use case of, hey, you never have to put on makeup, fake eyelashes, you never need to wear any like normal clothes. You could just wear a tank top, and you can come out all put together, rocking your nice.
This is really wrong and fucked up narrative. Don't you see? Like, who believes in it? And Fabricant, please consult with me before you hire anyone. Generally.
And or Sandbox, and a lot of us may be in on there, but for the regular our normie friends, it just seems like we're crazy people talking on the internet and throwing up emojis like we are right now.
Totally. I think it's something that is, I find this with my friends all the time, is that they don't quite understand the whole digital fashion thing when it comes to, or even like filter kind of thing. When it comes to like being in the metaverse and 3D avatars and all that kind of thing. But then, they will use a filter on their Snapchat stories every single day, when they're posting selfies and things like that. So it's like they're already in that. We're already existing as digital identities in kind of AR. So I think in that way, people can relate to it much, much easier. And I'm sure within the next, 2 to 3 years, we're going to see a huge emergence of glasses that come out from all the kind of top brands.
You don't
from
need
Apple
no glasses.
to Samsung.
Trust me, I'm sitting in glasses right now. I don't need them. I don't like them. It's really hurting my eyes.
World that we're living in is a digital world that we get to kind of impose these AR filters onto our kind of selves and onto our friends and things like that. And in that way, I can so see digital fashion and digital beauty and NFTs playing a huge part in that. Show Studio, do you want to say something, Tom?
Yeah, I think just on.
I think this guy should talk most of this whole event. Everyone else is newbie in fashion, and I don't like newbies in fashion so much. They come in and they think they all know everything, and they have not even worked in the industry to really understand how harsh the industry is to operate in. How you cannot build a new economy without knowing the old one in order for us not to make the same mistakes.
Having over the last couple of years, there are a lot of brands that want to get into this and kind of know that they should be getting into this, but it's sort of kind of hard entry points for them because they see that Decentraland looks a bit cartoony and AR filters don't quite work yet and everything. But I think that's the thing, is like when you see it as the individual parts, then I totally agree, it's hard to get into. But when you look at it as a kind of whole,
internet stability questions. We don't need AR, we don't need digital fashion, my loves. Please don't get so distracted. This is all very, very illusionary world you live in, and trust me, if I say illusionary, I mean it. Like, if I do say something like that, that just really means that it's illusionary, it's not real. It's fake, it's made up, and it's not even necessary. Oh my loves, we are so fucked. So cute though. Series to read. So many 4 people, wow, impressive. Who's D? Zara copied your address. Please. Metas loves everywhere we go. Layla. Okay, bye.